It feels like everything today doesn't last as long as it should, and it feels like it's almost designed to fail. That's why when my suitcase handle broke on a recent trip, I decided to over-engineer the fix using 3D printing, CNC machining, so it would never break again. The problem with the suitcase was the button handle broke, so it wouldn't raise or lower. I managed to take it apart on my trip and superglue it back together in the hotel room, but this was only a temporary fix and actually broke while filming the intro. So I need to find a better, more permanent solution. When I took the handle apart, you can see how it works. The button has a plastic bar that goes across the handle between each arm, and then presses on 2 metal rods. These rods then retract pins in each arm that hold it in place. But if you're pushing down on the handle before you press the button, the pins will lock in place and won't go down. Then when you press the button, it can't move and will flex instead. Over time, this flexing will break the button arm at the weakest point, and you're done. There's no way to raise or lower the handle. In my experience, this will most likely happen at the worst possible time, like trying to put your suitcase in an overhead locker when you're running late for a flight. It seems like most suitcases are made like this. And after looking around, it also seems like every suitcase has a slightly different handle design. And so this makes it almost impossible finding replacement parts. I also weighed the broken button to compare with the final design. And with that done, it was time to start modeling. This is when RevoPoint reached out and offered to send me their new POP4 5-in-1 3D scanner to try out. They sent it to me for free with the only condition that I'd show it off in one of my videos. I mounted the broken button to the included rotary table so I could begin scanning. It was really easy to use. I just connected it to my laptop and opened the RevoScan app. Then I selected marker tracking and the laser line mode to begin scanning. This was my first time ever using a 3D scanner, so the result wasn't quite doing the POP4 justice, but this will be good enough for me to start modeling. After scanning the part, I cleaned it up in the RevoScan app and imported the STL into Fusion 360 to start modeling. I used the scan as a guide to help me align the holes to the measurements I'd already taken, and to make sure the model was as accurate as possible. I ended up modelling exactly the same as the original part, including the pockets inside the button and small ears on each end. It sounds good in practice, but can cause issues if you don't account for the manufacturing process, like 3D printing, which caused me some issues later on in the video. As the part was already broken, I couldn't do a complete scan or measure, so I only modelled half the part and then mirrored it when I was done. After I'd created the initial model, I sent the part to my 3D printer and printed a test print in PLA. The test print didn't quite fit, so I made some minor adjustment and printed it a few more times until it was just right. Finally, I tested the button and it actually worked, but not reliably, and I was also noticing the printed part would bend more than the injection molding part. It might have been possible to get 3D printing to work by using better filament that was more rigid or slightly redesign the part. As the injection molding one had already failed, I think 3D printing one would also fail. So I need to create this out of something that will not bend or break, as I don't want to do this again. And that's why I'm going to machine it out of aluminium using my Makera Z1. I also wanted to try something I've never done before, and that's 4th axis machining. So in Fusion, I added extra tabs to the part to make it easier to machine. After opening MakeraCAM, I created a new 4th axis project and set my stock size. In my case, it was an aluminium round bar that was 20mm by 150mm. I then imported the step file and aligned it with the stock. Next, from the rotation path menu, I selected a rotation relief to create a roughing toolpath to remove most of the metal from the stock. With the part selected, I chose a 3.175mm end mill, then enabled step down, tail stock and ramping and left everything else as default. I then clicked generate to calculate the toolpath. I don't really know what I'm doing here, so you should do your own research before starting a project like this. I repeated these steps for the cleanup toolpaths by creating a new rotation relief but changing the tool to a ball nose end mill and disabling step down. This will create a new toolpath that will follow the contours of the part exactly. I also made new horizontal and vertical finishing paths to run in different directions to remove as much material as possible. This is where I made one of my key mistakes. I should have adjusted the step over value. By default it was set to 1mm, meaning the tool would step over by 1mm each rotation, missing large areas of the part in the process. I should have used a much smaller value for step over for my finishing parts, and it would have resulted in a much better outcome. After creating the toolpaths, I imported them into the controller, mounted the stock, and started machining. Fourth axis machining is something I've wanted to try for a long time, and when my Suitcase broke, I thought it would be a perfect time to try it, because I wanted to try and avoid multiple setups and just do it all in one operation. It worked, but I'm not sure if this ended up being the right part for fourth axis machining. In the end, the part didn't come out right. I could have made it smoother by doing more passes or reducing the step over, but my biggest issue was the pockets and alignment holes. They did not machine cleanly. I think this is because MakeraCAM only has relief path for fourth axis machining. I think if I could have used Fusion 360 with different operations, it might have worked a bit better, as the Z1 is more than capable of making amazing fourth axis parts. Makera are working on new software that combines the CAM and controller into one app, so I hope this will have better fourth axis support in the future. Makera sent me the Z1 for free with the only condition that it would show it off in one of my videos. So it's time to go back to the drawing board one more time and design a part that actually works for the process I'm using, not just copy someone else's design exactly. I went back into Fusion and redesigned the part one final time. I removed everything that wasn't completely necessary and that would make machining harder. I also redesigned the button so I could 3D print it and machine the bar using a 10mm plate of aluminium and two machining operations, one for the top and one for the bottom. That way I could combine the best of both processes to make a better, stronger part. Well, that didn't fit either. So I went back one final time and did what I should have done from the start. I adjusted the design slightly by 1 or 2 millimeters, then machined it out of a 1mm thick plastic sheet to check the fit. I did this several times, and after a few tries I got something that fit perfectly. So finally I machined the final design. I've reprinted the button in black silk PLA with a 0.2mm nozzle and a 0.08mm layer height. This made the curves on the top of the button almost perfect, and it's even hard to tell if it's 3D printed. Finally I screwed the button onto the bar and had a complete part for the final test fit. Before assembly I quickly measured it and only weighed about 10 grams more than the original part, so I'm pretty happy with that. I wanted to actually test how strong the new part was versus the old, so I did some non-scientific testing on my workbench. Using a dial indicator to detect flex and a bag scale to measure the force applied, I first tested the original part. And even with a small amount of pressure on the end, you can see how much it deflects, over 2 millimeters. This can make a huge difference in such a small mechanism. But I think at this point, it was already broken, as you can see the stress marks in the thinnest point. And it broke completely at 2.6 kgs. Next, I tested the 3D printed part. With light pressure on my finger, it would deflect 1 to 2 millimeters, and with heavier pressure, it would deflect almost 4. And using the scale, it broke at 2.3 kgs, so it's not even as strong as the damaged original part. Finally, I tested the aluminium part, and with light pressure, it would only deflect about 0.3 millimeters, and with heavy pressure, it would deflect about 0.5 millimeters. Using the scale, it only deflected 1 millimeter with over 10 kgs of force applied. So the metal part is significantly stronger than the original or the 3D printed part. The metal part is at least 5 times stronger, so I don't expect this will ever break. Now that it doesn't have this weak point, I'm expecting something else to break in the mechanism, but hopefully I can still get a few more years out of this suitcase. Now the only thing left to do is put the suitcase back together and test it out. And it worked perfectly, even better than the original part. I think the old button was always flexing a little bit and getting stuck, but the new button feels a lot more firm and works way more reliably than the original. Getting my handle up has never felt so good. I'm sure there's lots of things I could have improved if I'd done it differently. I shouldn't have focused so much on copying the part exactly and 4th axis machining when it wasn't needed, but ultimately the project has been a way for me to learn more about CNC machining, so I'm really happy with the outcome. It worked better than I could have ever imagined. If you'd like to find out more about the RevoPoint Pop 4 or the Makera Z1, I have a link in the video description. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it interesting. I have a bunch more 3D printing and CNC projects planned for the future, so like and subscribe if you'd like to see that. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one. Next time on Yeah Nah DIY, I try and create a 4D 3D printer. If I just add a little bit more flux, it might just work.